Hey everyone, I'm here with one of my students, James Clayton. James is a builder, has been doing that for the last 20 years, and is going to show us a recent deal he's made $700,000 profit on. So welcome on, James.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
No worries. So as I mentioned, you're a builder. You've been doing that for the last 20 years. You originally were in Sydney and then moved to Lake Macquarie, where you've done this property deal. And I'll hand it over to you in a sec. But just to give people a background on as to what James's professional career has been over the past 20 years. So as a builder, started off as a carpenter. So he's in the industry. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're good at doing property deals, but it certainly can help. It can also be a hindrance. So I'm going to hit my share screen and show you the real deal that James has made a fortune on over the last 12 months. And it is a renovation project, a fairly substantial one, and he has done a fantastic job. Can't wait to show it. So I'll hand it over to you, James.
This is uh, this is our recent build that we bought up in Spears Point, uh, Lake Macquarie. Probably, I'd say, 20 minutes south of Newcastle for people who aren't familiar with the area. Um, yeah, I've been in the going back to what you were saying, Adam. Just been in the industry for 20 years. Started as a carpenter, just working on the northern beaches of Sydney, just kind of learning the trade and working with some pretty substantial builders down that way. I started my own company uh, close to ten years ago, where we operated in Sydney, and then have moved up to this area in the last 12 months, searching for um, renovation slash development to make some money on.
Yeah, awesome. So now that I've put it up on the screen about the deal, and it actually, I just noticed it took 7 to 8 months. I thought it was 12 in total.
Yeah, the actual build itself, we started in mid to late September last year. And then my wife and I actually moved into the house start of July. So that's kind of the build. Like we still got little bits to finish off, as I mentioned before, just kind of a couple of little landscaping things out the front, and a little bit of painting. But by and large, the job's now done. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So it was a single house renovation, which was reasonably substantial. So you'd put it almost in the new build category. And you said it was a deceased estate. So at the time when you bought it, was it on the market? Did it go cheap?
Um, it's got a funny backstory how we actually ended up settling on the house. So we were originally approached. We engaged a buyer's agent to focus on the kind of Newcastle and surrounding areas for a development deal, or so more of a flipping deal, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
More of a flip. Um, and we basically gave them the dot points of what we were looking for. They did send us quite a few, but just didn't make a lot of sense. The ones that they were sending to us didn't really have the numbers that I was looking for. But um, funnily enough, this one came to the buyer's agent on a Tuesday afternoon. I think I came up and looked at it Wednesday afternoon, and we had our offer accepted Thursday afternoon.
Wow.
Um,
Awesome.
but so we just, kind of going back to your coaching, Adam, as well, a little bit, which is a good plug for the course. But I was just acting on it fast when you found a good deal, kind of
Yeah.
having the chips in motion to actually be able to jump on the deal and go for it. But going back to the funny story behind it, so we had our offer accepted Thursday afternoon, and we were, really excited. And then an hour and a half, that was just a verbal acceptance. And then an hour and a half later, they called back and said, "Oh, actually, no, we're going to take it on market."
Oh no.
Um, so that was a bit of a shock, and we kind of asked what's the reason behind it. So we got a bit of a backstory. There was a bit of a family dispute in the background over the property, kind of brothers and sisters arguing over what wanted to happen to the house. And so we kind of left our offer there for best part of a week, and then kept calling them back to basically see any progress, and threatened to take away the offer if it went on the market and all this kind of stuff. And then it actually ended up going back on the market. Sorry, it ended up going on the market, and they held one open home where they had our original offer that they accepted was 850. They had one other offer at 880, and then the numbers still made sense if we went to 900. So it still looked like a good deal at nine, and we wanted it. Like, it was kind of one of the only ones that for how long we were looking that actually made sense. So we gave them the 900 and basically told them that offer expires at 3 p.m. this afternoon. And they called us back and they called us back at 2 o'clock and said, "Yep, you've got it. We're not going to change our mind this time." So there was a bit of a run around to get it, but not as bad as I know some people's stories. But we were super stoked to get it after that.
Yeah, awesome. And I skip past the slide to the next one. It's all right. This is the raw version. Clearly, we haven't rehearsed this. So
Yeah.
this is a bit on your story, which I know we touched on before, but you want to just give people an idea if they are a builder or they are in the building trade looking to get into doing flips or doing development, to give us a bit of an idea on where you came from, what sort of things you've done in the past, what has led up to this point. And I'll give myself a plug with the program, the course that you did a couple of years ago with me. But obviously, we all have our own stories and our own experiences, and you've taken the leap of faith on this property and done exceptionally well out of it. So I'll hand it over to you. Give us a bit of an idea on your background and how it led into doing this deal.
Yeah, for sure. So with me being involved, I suppose, in and around property, all just stemmed from living in multiple properties. Growing up as a kid, we moved quite a lot. I think I've lived in several houses in Australia, in different parts of New South Wales, but we also lived in America for a number of years while my dad completed his doctorate at some universities over there. So we did a bunch of moving around when I was younger, and it was funny. Kind of, mum and dad used to always talk to me. I used to ask so many questions about the houses we'd moved into, like, oh, how many bedrooms and all these kind of things. I just had a kind of fascination with houses and why we keep going to different ones and why they're shaped different ways and built differently. And so, yeah, I think I just had a bit of a fascination with property in general from a young age. Being active and like being outside and that kind of thing. Carpentry was a bit of a calling to me. I like being in the sun and, hanging around with your mates and building things with your hands. That's just kind of how I grew up and what me and my mates do. Like, I think probably out of 10 of my closest mates, 8 of us are builders. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that we just kind of did growing up, and kind of a lot of us wanted to do it when we left school and things. So started out as a carpenter on the Northern Beaches for a substantial company down there. Really good company, taught me a lot. Kind of threw me in the deep end pretty early on as well, running sites from probably my 4th year. Not massive sites, but just having a bit of responsibility with a few guys underneath you. So that was really good learning curve. And then went out on my own, just as a subcontracted carpenter for a few years, just bouncing around between different builders, doing my own works in between all that. And then coming back from a long overseas holiday in Europe for, I think it was 4 to 6 months or something like that, I just decided to start my own company and just have a crack and see what I could do. And so I've had that business for the best part of 10 years now. Obviously, that's in Sydney. Now that I'm located up in Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, we don't operate down there anymore. But taking those skill sets, that skill set into wanting to do my own projects. I love building. I love construction. I love property. Something that I do find difficult is the client side of the industry. Can be very difficult. Anyone that's in the industry and probably anyone that owns a business knows that. So I kind of knew that I had the skill set to do what I wanted to do. And then going back to your course and your teachings and kind of understanding numbers and how to be able to structure jobs and make sure you're picking the right deal and you're going to make some money on it. Did some research and bit of hunting around for a while, but let's kind of found this place and had a designer look at it, do a little bit of a plan view for us of what the place could look like. And yeah, we're so happy with how it's turned out and being able to do, I don't know, 70% of it yourself with aside from like the essential trades. It's great feeling to have that kind of your blood and sweat. It's kind of built this place, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So for all those tradies that are out there slogging it for some other client, making them rich, go and do my course so you can work out how to do it yourself and make a lot more money.
It's 100% true. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. But if you're not a tradie and not handy like me, you don't have to do all of the work yourself or any of it. In my instance, I'd do none of it other than organize other people to do it. So it doesn't matter whether you're in the trade or not. Most builders are the worst developers or renovators because they think it's all about the work. But as you know, James, it's two part. Work is part of it, and you have chosen to do it yourself, save money by doing it. But you know that at the end of the day, there's a lot more money left over. You're doing it for a reason. Like you're not just doing it to make no money or to make just the builder's margin.
Exactly right.
So give us a bit of an idea on your previous properties that you have done before this. So you didn't just tackle a multi-million dollar renovation flip first time round. There was a bit of a lead up with your own investment journey. So
Yeah,
this house on the screen, was this the first property you purchased in 2016?
that's right. So this house is in Cessnock, New South Wales. Bought this in 2016. So again, for people who aren't familiar with this area, this is in the Hunter Valley area, which
Yeah.
is probably half an hour from where I am now. This is a great little buy. Again, I was just trying to step my toe into property and investing. So this was an investment property that I bought 2016. I think I paid 2,865 for
So
it.
cheap.
So cheap. Like it's just, like you think back to those prices, but yeah, 2,865. I think I put maybe 20 grand into it just to do a bit of a spruce up. Got my trades from Sydney to come up and just help me put downlights in. We did some painting, changed the floors and carpets, all within a weekend. Like just
Oh,
put a bit
nice.
of put a bit of money into it, and that was positively geared from day dot. It was actually a really good investment. It paid for itself, and then it had we had good tenants. We had a couple of good tenants and a couple of bad tenants. Just the demographics of the area. Sometimes you get some good ones, and sometimes you get some rough ones that
Yeah.
unfortunately made a bit of a mess a couple of times. They kind of filled the garage with a bunch of rubbish and then just left it. Things like that, which cost you a little bit of money to get rid of. But all in all, it was a really good investment. And then regarding this property, I was actually able to sell this. Oh, when did I sell this? 2000, about 2021, I think it was around that time. And that was a funny one. I got a call. I was thinking of selling it. I got a call from my property manager saying, "Hey, mate, I've got a buyer here that's looking for something that's exactly like your house. Would you ever
Yeah.
consider selling it?" And he basically made a really strong offer of 550. And I said I wouldn't let it go for anything less than 550. And he said, "Yep, I'll give you that." So that was kind of my first experience of kind of buying. I know it's a it would be considered a long-term hold over number of years, but to put a little bit of money into it, have someone else pay the mortgage, and then also sell it at such a big profit. That kind of money was like, wow, this is great.
That
This
was a
is
good
awesome.
win.
Yeah,
Great,
that was really
great win.
good.
And then you rolled on to the next one, which was a new build by the looks, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so this is a new build. So this is up in Algesta, Queensland.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like southwest Brisbane. Is that kind of what's considered?
Yeah,
South.
south. Yeah,
Yeah,
southwest-ish.
yeah,
About 20, where's Algesta? Probably 20 k's out, I'd say, I'd guess.
yeah. That's about right. Yep. So yeah, this was purely just an investment thing. I didn't put any of my own effort into this one. This was a land and new build deal. I think the land was 160,000 or something like that, 180,000 from memory, and then the build was uh, what was the build? 370, 380, something like that.
Okay.
So it was again like the numbers stacked up in the sense of as an investment, kind of a longer term hold. Um,
Yeah,
we
so
got
like 600,000, which which is probably, do you still have this property now?
Yeah, I've still got it. Yep.
Probably like 1.3 mil, maybe at a guess. Am I in the ballpark?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
two.
you bang on. Yeah, I think that's what it's been valued at 1.3. There's been a couple of sales in the area for 1.4, 1.45, which is cool. It's exciting. So yeah, that's been really good just in just organic growth because of Brisbane, how popular it is now, right? So that's been a really good investment.
Yeah, and you didn't have to build it either.
No, it was great. You just kind of get the progress claims as you do and send that to the bank and they kind of sort it out. So it was really good.
Yeah, okay. So you had some previous investment experience and had some pretty good wins by the sounds before you jumped into this deal. So as I mentioned before, most people don't normally jump into multi-million dollar deals. I did that for my first one, but I did it with investors. So normally there's a bit of a build up, lead up. So I don't want to promote the deal that you're about to share with us as, go and do your first renovation flip and make 700,000. If you do, I mean, hat off to you, but generally, there's background to this. It's not just do one deal, takes 8 months and you make 700,000 straight off
Exactly.
the bat.
Yeah.
So there's a lead in time to it. And also you spent the time doing my program a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So this is the area, so you're south of Newcastle.
Yeah. South of Newcastle, right on the tip of Lake Macquarie there, the northern tip. Beautiful little suburb. It's got some really, really great locations here, just on the water, a lot of parks, things like that, really family friendly.
Yeah.
And depending on what price point you're looking at, I reckon for the entry price point for what you get, it stacks up well. Yeah, it's a good area.
Okay. So why did you pick Newcastle out of anywhere else that you could pick?
My wife and I were looking at relocating um, just in general out of Sydney. We kind of just got we got priced out of the market, of course, like that's like most people in Sydney. But we were also looking for a bit of a change. We wanted to be closer to some family that actually lives up this way,
Okay.
and we just wanted a bit of a change, to be honest with you. Yeah. So
So so was the scope that it was anywhere in Newcastle? Was there a certain budget that you picked? You said you were looking for a development site. I think you were looking for a duplex at the time, if I remember correctly.
yeah, we had a couple of options there. So we opened it up as a duplex development option. Like if we could find that and we could make the numbers make sense, then we would do that. Or the alternative was a flip. A larger scale flip. But going back to it before, kind of moving away from that client side work. It was more something for us to for me to engage in as my own project, something that I would be hands on with, not so much an investor hold or things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then it again, just it made sense financially. It's nowhere near as much outlay as obviously what a full scale development site was as well.
Yeah, and quick turnaround as well. So this is the property here. So it's got steps down to the lake by the looks.
So what you're looking at there, the left is the lake is actually to the left of that project, to
Oh,
the
left.
rest of the property.
Okay.
That right hand side you can see there, that's actually now a development site. So that's got about 40 homes
Oh,
getting built
wow.
built up the top of that hill. And that road that you can see there still turns right, but you can also go straight up that hill there. Um, so those have actually there's about maybe seven completed homes up that way, up there. But
Yeah.
those blocks alone are going for 1.1, 1.2, and they're 600 square meter blocks. So
Wow.
you kind of look at what we got for our price. It's actually a good deal, you know.
Yeah. But you got the advantage, which is in my accumulator course, of the ripple effect from a suburban transition where a developer's gone and they're putting premium houses literally right across the road, and those blocks are selling for a much higher premium because people are going to pay more of a premium to be probably higher up on the hill for better views. But also the developer sets the pricing. So
Yeah,
if people are going to pay the pricing and there's low stock, so there's probably not too many vacant blocks of land floating around this area. Am I right?
yeah, that's right. So anything new is a new land subdivision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So infill area, most buyers won't want to knock down an old house, to be fair, and I don't blame them, especially with like asbestos, the hassle of doing a knockdown. You don't know what you're going to find. And also you've got to find a really dodgy house to knock it down. Otherwise, you're paying more of a premium. And also, you're in an older area as well. So the advantage with being new is you're in a new area. All the houses are new, not just yours.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
did you know that going into the deal? When did you contract it? Almost a year ago, or was it 8 months ago?
We settled on the house in September, but we purchased the house in the July previous of that. So that's when we had our offer accepted around July. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
nice.
purchase price, yes, Spears Point. And then it was just doing that research, going back to, as you said, a few points to look out for infill areas, and that we kind of looked up just as what those blocks up the road were selling for, and kind of looked at this one, going, "Oh, this is actually a really good deal considering if that's selling for 1.1, and this is actually a block, you know, it's bigger block with the same views." And we can renovate. I said, this one just kind of makes sense. So yeah, we
Wow.
jumped at it.
So those blocks were actually for sale at the time you bought this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Wow,
there's still,
that just
yeah,
doesn't make sense. Therein
it's,
lies the opportunity. You got a
yeah,
a block of land, vacant block of land, and across the other side of the road, you're buying a block with a house on it for below land value.
yeah. I'm not too sure what you'd call that. Like, call it luck. You call it maybe a little bit of inexperience from the sellers or that kind of thing. But no, it's a great deal.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds obvious when we talk about it, but how many other buyers would have looked over this property? Heaps.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah. It's a bit. I don't have as many photos to kind of show what it was like when we bought it, but they had like really serious leaks in their roof, and some of the ceiling had fallen in, and so
oh, okay. Okay.
that's kind of just what that's people would have walked in, and unless you're like someone looking to flip or a builder or a carpenter, it's kind of like you just walk straight back out. So, but that was the opportunity, right? That's where it came to me and just said, "This is perfect. This is exactly what we want."
Yeah, awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
well done. So that's it. Their purchase price was 900,000, as you mentioned before. And you said it was around the market price, but based on what you just told me, it sounds like it was well under market value, or at least 100,000 under
Yeah,
market, at
I
least
think
more.
I think like looking at it's almost like two separate markets within a market, as in the some of the smaller houses, if you'd call it that, some of the more established houses, smaller houses in the established area was still selling for that $900 million mark. Some of the nicer ones closer to the water were selling a bit higher. That This block had a lot of things going for it. Water views, large size block, had a really good footprint too. And then it's almost like the development market almost had a, I don't know, it's almost like those numbers haven't been factored into the median house price of this area yet because, and maybe we'll touch on it in a later slide, but we settled on it in September last year, and then had it revalued in February, and it went up nearly 250,000 dollars. So it's like we just got in right as it started to peak a little bit, so it was good timing.
Yeah, yeah. It's called that ripple effect from from the new properties. Suburb in transition. So you can get the ripple from the neighboring suburb, but you can also get the ripple really internally as developers release premium products to the market. Unfortunately, it can also go the other way. If a developer builds crap in your suburb, then it can actually devalue your property. So it works both ways. So if a developer builds good stock, it lifts the value of all the surrounding homes, and then vice versa. If you got
Yeah.
housing commission, not so good for your area. So you told us a bit how you found the property through a buyer's agent, and it was off market. Well, originally it was off market, then it went to market. So it was an on-market purchase in the end.
Yeah.
Did you still have to pay the buyer's agent?
Yeah, we did. We did still pay the
Damn.
buyer's agent. Yeah. Yeah, we still paid the buyer's agent. It's one of those things that we were also trying to create a bit of a relationship with them for future deals as well. So we kind of looked at it from a bit of that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I hope he gets you another one like this one.
Yeah, same.
It'll be well worth the fee.
Yeah.
So you selected this one. Well, you've already basically told us it was already under market value. So even if you did nothing to it, you still made good money on it. And then the land, you did speak about the land being larger than the 600 square meter blocks across the road. So it was 810, or it is 810 square meters. So it's got water views, nature reserve adjacent, and good property footprint. So
Yeah.
it looked like it was on top of a hill. Is the land slopey though? Did you have to spend some money to retain the land?
Yeah, so the backyard has already been tiered once, so it has been leveled. It has been leveled. Uh, a portion of the land has been leveled, and then we've almost got like a two-step backyard, and that lower step does have a slope to it. But I think it's still quite usable. It's actually quite nice. It's got a bunch of fruit trees there, and it's a big, relatively easy grassed area to kind of walk around on if you want to. So yeah, it's not like a crazy slope like some sites can be. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a disadvantage with being on a hill most times is you're on a hill with views, but you got to deal with the slope. So you
Exactly.
just got to weigh up if you got to spend money on retaining walls, are you going to be able to get that money back?
Yeah.
So hopefully you can, but retaining walls are very expensive for anyone that is looking at a slopey site. I've done a couple. You just got to be able to get the money back. So what's so good about the area? We've already covered a bit of this, but
Yeah.
this is a short list. Uh, so it sounds like a really family-friendly area. You're kind of out in the country a little bit, or city country life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Bit more regional. Lakeside's obviously uh, still quite vibrant. Still got
Yeah,
active lifestyle. People walking and running around the lakeside and walking their dogs, which is nice to have. It's kind of like a place where people like
yeah,
to
nice.
be.
Yeah,
Um, the the a bunch of local cafes and bars, just like there's kind of the Spears Point ones where we have a couple of bars and a good cafe that actually has good coffee and stuff like that. So there's
that
that place
actually
is
has good coffee.
yeah, exactly. So people actually go there a lot. It's quite busy, which is nice. But then just around the corner. I wouldn't even say a 5 minute drive. You got Warners Bay, which is filled with restaurants and bars and pubs and clubs, and yeah, that's kind of like a bit of a hub around this area. So that's kind of cool to have as well.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lifestyle and access to amenity as well,
Yeah.
where the property's located. So people generally pay a premium for that, especially over the last decade, really, as we all want to get closer to shops and cafes, and a lot of people go out a lot more now than what they used to, me included.
Yeah.
Uh, Never used to eat out. Now I eat out on occasions,
Yeah.
but we all want to be close to amenity, and people normally pay a premium for that. So, to the good part that everyone's probably been waiting to hear, or if you fast forwarded it to this part, this is the transition from the beautiful green walls, brown kitchen, brown tiles, over to something that doesn't even look like it's the same house. So give us a bit of an idea on this before and after image. What did you actually change other than everything by the looks? Is this even the same angle? Well,
No. So these
different
are
angle?
from two different ends of the house, if that makes sense, but inside the same room. So that first photo you can see of the existing home with, as you said, the brown floors and brown kitchen and green walls and everything. That's the existing house that just it was a deceased estate. It was an older fellow that lived here, so he could only probably do what he could do to take care of it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think in that photo they've cleverly edited out the hole in the ceiling where the leaks were. Um, and then you can see those bifold doors there. That's actually separating almost about like a sunroom that was from
So
the back of
hang on,
it.
the sliding glass door with the crisscross
Yeah,
safety screen or security screen.
yeah, that's right. So that basically separates a sunroom from the living room, you would say.
Yeah.
Um, in the existing house. And what we've basically done, we've knocked out that wall that shows the kitchen cupboard.
Yeah.
And then we've knocked out that wall that separates the sunroom from the living room. And then that second photo, when the actual renovation is completed, I'm actually standing in that sunroom looking back towards the house. So we actually moved the sunroom, say, to the other end of the house, which we've basically made a study slash kids room.
Okay.
And then put the kitchen in between those two rooms, and then I'm standing in our TV room. So that was this area of the house was the largest amount of work that we did. We've added renovated a bathroom, extended the existing bathroom, and then also added an ensuite as well as
Holy
uh,
moly.
a yeah. So
You'll have to show us a before and after plan. I know we don't have this at the moment, but maybe we can put it up on the screen, a before and after.
yeah, I can send those through. Yeah, that's fine.
Where so just so I can get bearings and so other people can as well. So the sink in the first one, it's on my left.
Yeah,
So you're now looking from the opposite end of the room facing back.
yeah,
Is that right?
that's right.
So
That's right.
you've not only gotten rid of the green wall with the cupboards where the fridge is supposed to be, and there's no fridge there in the initial photo.
Yeah,
So you've demolished that wall, you've gotten rid of those sliding glass doors by the looks, and opened, well, yeah, you would have had to have, and then opened that up. Or you've gotten rid of that whole wall completely where the sliding glass doors are.
yeah. Pull that out entirely.
Yeah, so that whole wall's gone, and that would have been structural.
Yeah, that was structural. Yep.
The one in the
And
middle wouldn't have been, I'd guess.
no, that was. I think it had one structure, but again, we had an engineer. It was all designed engineer-wise to
Yeah.
install ceiling beams to pick up any loads that were
Yeah.
carried through and things like that.
Yeah. Pretty
Um,
normal.
but that existing, as you mentioned, where that existing sink is, that's actually now the front door. So
Yeah, right. Okay.
that's kind of where it'll make more sense when I send through the plans. But yeah, that's now the front entranceway that leads into the hallway to access the bedrooms, and you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
that. that archway there, that archway basically separates the living areas from the bedrooms and garage.
Nice. Okay. So you've had to move the sink, move all the electricals, change out structural walls, maybe keep some of the original plaster. The ceiling was new. So there's not much in this new room, the image on the right, that isn't secondhand.
To be fair, mate, we gutted it. We literally stripped everything. I didn't leave any plaster
Oh,
anywhere.
there you go. Okay.
Um,
So it is all brand
we
new, other than the
it's
walls,
all
a few wall
it's all,
studs.
yeah. We think I think we were able to keep maybe one to two to maybe three walls, but everything else was swapped and changed and moved around, and all the floors were re-leveled and new floors put down. From one end of the house of the existing house, from one end to the house to the other end of the house was 110 mil out of level. So we had to do a ton of leveling and packing to get that good. But no, there's not a lot left, mate, from the old house.
So is this house on stumps? Is it timber underneath?
It is. Yeah, timber subframe sitting on brickwork piers. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So the plumbing wouldn't have been too much of a mission to move.
No, that was actually quite easy. That was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So for those of you that haven't done a renovation, if you've got a concrete slab and you need plumbing, the plumbing has to run through the slab. So it means if you're moving plumbing on a concrete slab, you're jackhammering up the slab, which can be very costly. Whereas this one's on a timber, so it's got a space underneath the floor. So it means the plumber can get underneath the floor, under the timber floorboards, and relocate the plumbing to the new point. Both both the actual sewer line, so where the water drains out to, but also then your water, like where you turn your taps on. And then electrical, since you gutted the whole place, that would have been easy. Run all new electrical wires. And then even things like the packing, I know what that's like. That's a pain in the butt. That can be expensive as well to get all your levels right. So yeah, there's a lot of money being spent in this room in particular. And that's probably, well, you said it before, this is where you spent most of your budget.
Yeah, like it's hard to pinpoint down room for room what we spent, but this is where particularly the major structural work was happening. This is where we knocked down walls, a lot of large timber beams, yeah, plumbing, electrical, all that kind of gear. So this was like probably some of the biggest changes to the house. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. And so just so other people understand, why did you spend all the money in this area versus trying to do a half-assed job here? Was it because it extracted the most value out of it, or was it because that you're living there? What was the reason?
I think it comes back to that point in one of the previous slides where the feasibility wise, and also just gaining information from speaking to local agents and things like that. We wanted to understand what sells well in the area.
Yeah.
And so we were able to speak with some real estate saying, in this area, open plan living, modern, let as much light through as you can, and obviously take advantage of those water views. And then around that is where me and my wife and the designer basically spoke with the designer. So this is what we're trying to capture. We're trying to, A, B, and C, and add in some bedrooms as well. And so the designer was actually able to take those points, kind of design it in a way that didn't we didn't want to extend anything. I didn't want to do anything too major and have DAs or anything like that, CDCs even to add things in, but we just wanted to use the footprint and all the feedback that we've gotten from real estates to come and look at it. They just said, you've nailed it. It's so light filled, it's modern. You can see through the house from the front door, which, apparently that's that's a new feature that a lot of designers look for and a lot of agents like. So we were able to do that. And
So it's,
then
so it's about, just on that point, it's about walking into a house and having that wow factor. That's what I'm assuming they're referring to, like having it You walk in the front door, you take a step or two, and it's like, wow, it's this big open plan space. Is that fair to say?
Yes, exactly. And just keeping it like light filled, and it's also a super comfortable place to be. You kind of want to
Yeah.
be in the TV area because you can be watching TV and look over your shoulder and see the lake, which is really nice. And it's a great like little kitchen and dining area just to entertain as well. So it's really fun
Yeah, nice.
for younger families and people who like to entertain too.
Yeah, awesome. We haven't got to the numbers yet, but the number you're chasing for the end value, what is that number? So you bought it for 900. What's the number at the start of the job that you thought I'm going to spend X dollars on the renovation and it's going to be worth X at the end? What was that end value you were chasing?
Well, to be fair, we actually exceeded the number that I was chasing. So we were trying to basically make like if we could make three to four hundred thousand dollars after selling it, then
Yeah.
that was a good return for us over say a 6 to 8 month build.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
you kind of add up how hard I've got to work.
Pretty good payday.
A pretty good payday, exactly. So we were chasing, I suppose you would say we were chasing, I suppose, that 1.6. We are hoping
Yep.
around
Yep.
that 1.6 mark.
Okay. All right. So going into it, and we won't spoil the fun for what it's really worth. But buying it for 900, chasing 1.6. So there's a $700,000 difference there between the start and where you're expecting to end up. So it's pretty good initial margin. Onto the bathroom. We won't spoil the fun just yet about the final numbers, but that bathroom again doesn't even look like the same room. It even looks like is it bigger in the second photo or that's just taken at a different angle?
It is bigger, yeah. So all the ceilings in the house are 2.6 high, where originally they were around that, probably that 2.2 meter high. They're still acceptable to most people's houses, but taller ceilings definitely are a wow factor as well. So we had the space in order to actually, we didn't lift any roofing beams or anything. They just had a really large cavity above the existing ceiling for whatever reason.
Yeah,
We
right.
were able to rip those down and put a few hundred mil into the ceiling heights. But the bathroom we extended by about 600 mil, nothing major, but just trying to take advantage and make it as big as we possibly could as well.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
those tiles on the floor as well.
Yeah, it's come up really well. All our finishing schedules from the designer looked amazing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it looks
and
great.
yeah, we're pretty happy with it. Yep.
Yeah, and that opaque glass. But there's obviously a new window in that room as well, and you put a little niche into the shower. So that's the little ledge in the shower, which is full length.
Yep. You can't see it in that photo, but just to the right, there's actually a full-size bathtub and
Oh,
the
wow.
toilet as well. So that's a full bathroom. That shower's 1100 wide. So it's a big shower
Nice.
with a big shower head in it. So it's really comfortable. And that's just one of two. So we also added a second bathroom similar to that, but very same finishes, but it's just a more of an ensuite.
Yeah, nice. I'm guessing there's mirrors still to go in that bathroom.
This was taken. This was it's just a photo, probably the day that we moved in or something like that. But since then, since then we've added mirrors and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah,
I know somebody will probably ask.
yeah.
So the purchase structure, pretty important.
Yeah.
So purchase in a company.
Yeah.
So why did you buy it in a company versus your own name if you're living in there?
Because we originally bought the house as a flip
Yeah. Yeah.
slash flip development, where we was going to become a business for us. So we wanted to structure it in a way that it tax effective and we could use it as a ways of making money flipping houses. And consulting with my accountant, that was to say, okay, like I've got a few ABNs. So let's use your development ABN to buy this in.
Okay. So this is a longer term. Well, initially it was a flip, but if you're living there, is it going to be a long-term or longer-term hold now that it's in a company, or is it still going to be potentially a flip that you're going to just get rid of short term, so it doesn't matter if you live there for 2 months
I
or 3 months?
I think that we're still kind of deciding. Our plans have changed with the property. Obviously, moving into it just made financial sense for us at the time. We were kind of getting pushed out of our rental property in Newcastle CBD, so we decided to move into this one. And the growth that this area is looking like it's going to have, it made sense to actually hold on to it longer term. Um, so we decided to hold on to it. The structuring, maybe in that circumstance, isn't great for that, but if it means that we've got to pay a second stamp duty to transfer back into our personal name, well, that's something we can look at once we make a decision on it.
Yeah, yeah. So initially you were just going to flip it, and now you've gone, okay, well, it's advantageous for us to move in because of this reason, but at least the company still gives you that flexibility with
Yeah,
not necessarily like PPR. If you move out of your PPR and then it doesn't become your PPR anymore, then the tax goes through the roof. Whereas company, it's the company structure, it's set tax. So, but yeah, that is one consideration. Unfortunately, if your plans change with with properties, which I've done as well, put them in certain structures and then going, oh, I want to sell this, or oh, I want to keep that, and you're like, crap, I should have put it in a different structure. But
yeah,
it is what it is.
exactly right. You just got to
We've got to do
play
it.
to the cards you've got, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've just got to try and work out what your end game is, but it does change. We can't all forecast the future and what's going to change all the time. So these are the numbers. Purchase price of 900. I reckon you bought it below market value,
Probably right. Yeah.
and your estimated profit is 700,000. So this is the breakdown. So soft costs. So run us through what are the soft costs on it?
The soft cost was the designer, and we had a few consultants just for advice on how to basically do the renovation without having to do DAs and things like that. But
Yep, yep,
most of that soft cost amount is the designer.
yep. Gotcha. And then hard costs.
Just the general renovation costs of the structure itself. Yeah, not, just mostly renovation. Yep.
Yep, gotcha. And then your estimated value is nearly 2 million, 1.95.
Yeah. So we had as the project was like running, and while I'm building the place, I'm always on phone calls with real estates and looking at the market to see what it's doing. That's just what I like to do, but I also just like to understand kind of what we're in as well. Um, the longer we were in the place, the longer we were in the renovation, but the numbers just kept going up. We just had kind of multiple vows from the bank come back during the build that just kept going up, and then um, we've had since basically having the place finished or 90% finished, we've had real estates come by and give us some valuations of what they could sell it for, and that's basically ranged from 1.9 to 2.1. So that's been really exciting.
Yeah, well, yeah. So you've been conservative with that. Uh, I just should also probably point out this is gross profit. So there are some other costs. Obviously, if you flipped it, I can see there's no stamp duty costs in here as well. These are just the raw hard costs and a bit of soft costs. So you still got the stamp duty to include and probably holding costs. And if you're going to on sell it, then there'd be selling costs as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you've conservatively said 700 based on a 1.95, but if it goes up, if your estimated value is a bit higher than that, then obviously those other costs I just mentioned are minimal in comparison to an extra 100 or 150,000 in potential uplift.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, in the potential market value. But it's best to be like you went into this thinking it was 1.6, and you probably, by the sounds of it, went in a bit conservative, even with the market growth that you've had. So, I mean, that's if you're doing a deal and you're thinking it's gonna make decent profit and you're being conservative. So I know a lot of people will think, oh, well, I'll just do this deal and it's got 10% margin, but is it 10% conservative margin or is it 10% margin and you've overinflated the end value? So
Yeah, exactly.
you
Yeah, it's
want to,
always
I was just going to say, you just want to err on the side of caution in case things do go wrong and in case you are out with your end value. But you've obviously hit a home run with this one and smashed it out of the park.
yeah, that's right. I think if your development deal or your flipping deal makes sense using conservative numbers, that anything else on top of that is cream, right? So
Yep,
it makes
absolutely.
sense to do it.
Yep, yep. I'm with that. Absolutely. So some of your lessons you learned.
Yeah, like being like my first step into flipping and this side of construction and property. It's just a proactive game. It's not for it's not for lazy people. It's just you've you've
Yes.
got to be you know you've got to be proactive. You've got to be on the phone. You've got to be searching markets. You've got to be looking at deals. You've got to be speaking to people just constantly. And it's kind of like you don't view it as, oh, I've got to call someone again or look at this. Like if it's something you're passionate about, it's that this is something I like to do. So I like to talk to people about how much that property sold for and what could you sell this for and things like that. So yeah, being proactive, being organised prior to settlement, that was like a big learning for me as well. So we were actually able to put in a term for the settlement of I think it was a 40 day um, 40-day settlement, a bit longer than that. But we basically had extended settlement. And in that time, I should have been more proactive. We still, basically, by the time we'd started to build, we actually didn't have finalized plans. We didn't have exactly how we were going to build it, which I was going to do that. I did the demolition myself, so I knew I had a bit of a period there where I kind of didn't need it. I just knew that I was going to be stripping the walls. But like anything, if you're kind of not organized, you're going to start losing time waiting for things to get sent through to you. So that was a big learning curve, kind of really being proactive right up until the point of your settlement and starting works is to just basically have all your ducks in a row, and so you can just start fast.
Yeah, I bet you got those plans done pretty quick once you started demolishing, though.
Absolutely. My designer would have hated me. I think I was on the phone to her at least a couple of times a day. It's like, oh, hey, how you going? Like, is it this afternoon? Is it tomorrow? Or can you send us that bathroom plan? And just, yeah, just
Yeah.
it being, yeah, it would have been good to be a bit more organized, but that's all right.
Oh, look, sometimes when you do things on the fly, it gets done faster. Put your designer under pressure, they turn around faster. Otherwise, you might have been waiting weeks.
Exactly. You got
Send
to be squeaky wheel, as they say.
Yes, yeah. Just send her a photo of a half demolished house and tell her to hurry up. She'll she'll probably prioritize your job over somebody else's,
Yeah, I do.
especially especially
I
when
think I
you're
did do that.
yeah. I think you probably put her under pressure a little bit, but hey, that's what you got to do. I loved your comment about if you're lazy, don't do this. Love that. So
Yeah.
yeah, don't think you're going to make three-quarters of $1 million by being lazy. I mean, some of us have won the lotto, the property lotto in the last 5 years, but not all of us have won that lotto. If you want to make three-quarters of $1 million on a modest house, you normally have to do some work
Absolutely.
unless you want to wait 10 years for the market to double,
Yeah.
like most market cycles. But generally, if you want to speed that up, you got to do some work. And no doubt you would have done some late nights and early mornings and plenty of work to get this thing out of the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, those sleepless nights too, you kind of start double questioning your numbers, like, oh, did I allow for this? Or, what if that developer starts selling houses for less? And all those thoughts start to come into your mind. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Gotta love it. You're out the other side.
that's right.
So did well. Oh, what advice would you give to somebody wanting to start in property?
Yeah, so it's just that educate yourself, till you're confident. Doesn't have to be perfect, and then just take massive action towards your goals. I just think that almost encapsulates what particularly what flipping is. I can't speak as a developer because I'm not a developer, but as a builder flipper, I think that's you've just got to research the market, know the market, and you kind of a lot of people say you've got to become like an area expert. I think that's really true. It's just kind of find an area to target and then just research it. So when someone calls you with a deal, you know over the phone if it's a good deal or not straight away. It's like is that under market, is that over market, that kind of thing. And then yeah, just like going back to it, Adam, like doing your course just gave me so much clarity on what to look for and how to approach deals and structuring and all that. Or just you've got to spend money to educate yourself. You just have to.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and in comparison, you probably paid your buyer's agent more than what you paid for my course.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah.
You probably did a lot less for it as well.
Yeah, no, he did, but he brought us the deal, so that was what we wanted, so it was worth it.
That's all right. Yeah, if he brings
Yeah,
you the deal, it's worth it.
yeah,
Um, Most of the deals I hear of, and my experience with many, many buyers agents is the deals they bring are rubbish, but
yeah.
not putting them all in that category, just unfortunately the majority. And then motivation. So if people are not motivated and they want to get motivated, what's your where's your motivation come from to work late, start early, take a leap of faith?
Yeah, it's just kind of going back to what I was saying when during that introduction. It's just kind of that's just what I'm passionate about, and I just love property. I just love building, love construction, and so this is what I like to do. It doesn't feel like work to me when I'm doing it, which is kind of a good sign that you're kind of in the right thing. Um, but
Mhm.
yeah, just that the self improvement, trying to kind of have a goal, looking towards a goal at all times. So I initially wanted to be a carpenter, and then I was like, I had the goal of becoming a builder, and then when I had the means, I wanted to become a property investor, and moving on from that, wanted to start into say flipping being my next step, and then I'd like to move into development. So it's just having a goal to work towards, and educating yourself, self improvement. Well, that's where my motivation comes from.
All right, let me ask you a question for those people that don't love property as much as you and I. If you don't like property, actually, let me reframe this. Um, when you're working late at night, what's motivating you more, the property itself or the end goal of completing the property and having the financial reward?
Yeah, definitely. I just had to
This
take a
is a
second.
this is a setup question.
Yeah, that's right.
Because if you might love property, and I love property, you do, you're in it, but you can love something. There's also other things I love, but they don't pay. They don't pay me any money. So as much as I love them, if they don't pay money, I can't do them because, or it's called a hobby.
yeah,
If you love
exactly.
something, but it doesn't pay well.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I don't know. It's kind of like you said. It's one of those things where if you can love something you do and actually earn a living from it or make some money on the side from it, then that's probably a pretty good way of spending your time, I reckon. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think you gotta love being in the moment, but also love what you're doing. But also, people get motivated by the financial freedom. It's not necessarily, oh, I love real estate, so I'm going to buy this house. It's like, I love real estate so I can go traveling with my family.
Yeah,
Gives me time flexibility. You moving, relocating your whole life out of Sydney to where you are now and doing this property. If there wasn't any money in this town to do a property deal, you probably couldn't have relocated,
no, exactly right. Yeah,
to be
yeah, that's
fair.
true. Yeah, that's true.
So you need both. and you don't have to be like over the top, talk about real estate non-stop.
No.
You just need some sort of love for it. If you have a hate for it, it's probably not going to work for you, but you need some sort of love. You don't have to be over the top.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's got to create what your desire is. It needs to generate money. Otherwise, you're not going to really love it if you do a deal and you lose money.
No, exactly right. You've got to have an interest in it for sure. It's got to be something that fascinates you, I think, to in order to put the time and energy into the research. If you're not enjoying it, you're just not going to do it, and you're probably not going to be accurate in your numbers and stuff too. If you're just kind of blasé about checking areas all the time, you're going to probably miss opportunities because you weren't motivated to keep looking or that kind of thing as well, right?
Yeah, 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 and it
Yeah,
gets tough too.
for sure.
How many deals did you look at before you found this one?
Mate, I reckon I looked at probably 7 to 8 houses just in the Newcastle area. And then prior to moving to Newcastle, I reckon I was looking at dozens in Sydney, just trying to make something stack up.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Seven to eight. That's pretty good. That's
yeah, like
that's a
again,
lot better than what I thought you were going to say. I thought you
no,
were
like
70 to 80.
no, we were kind of, again, probably going back to we had the help of a buyer's agent kind of narrowing those down. We would have probably looked at a lot more had it just been us researching, but they were bringing us deals and we were able to do our feasibilities on those deals. So we probably looked, don't get me wrong, we probably looked at a few outside of what the buyer's agent sent us, but they were just more quick feasos in the sense of like, no, that doesn't make sense kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Let me just ask you one thing though. If you didn't know how to run the numbers, what's the, would you have known a good deal from a bad deal with the buyer's agent?
No, you wouldn't. If you didn't know your own numbers, they can just send you anything, and
Yeah.
you could just take someone at their word that, oh yeah, if you do this, you're going to make $500,000, and jump into it and lose
Yeah.
a bunch of money too. So you've got to understand your numbers. You've got to understand the market that even they're sending it to. So just going back to
Yes.
it, they sent us a few houses where we did our own DD, our own due diligence from it, and then just the suburb numbers that they were sending us didn't really stack up to what they were telling us. So we would just say, no, that's not the right one for us, kind of thing. So you do have to know your numbers. You've got to know your product. You've also got to know your buyers too. That's
Absolutely.
something you've taught Adam in the course is, yeah, you've got to know your buyer as well.
Yeah. Because what happens if a buyer's agent brings you a deal and he says it's really good, but then it turns out not to be? Whose
So
whose money's on the line? His or yours?
exactly right. You're gonna pay him to lose money. That's basically
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I'm not hanging crap on all buyer's agents, but my experience has been they'll just send you anything just to try and get a commission. That's been my experience.
Yeah.
Despite what
100%.
they say and what they promise,
Yeah.
they only get paid when you buy a property. So they're motivated to sell you any property. Same as a real estate agent. They're motivated to sell you any properties. The uh, the difference between you knowing the numbers and not is you getting a good deal versus being blindfolded and not knowing what deal you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't need to use a buyer's agent to find good deals either. That's like you can do your own research, you can do letterbox drops, you can approach
Yep.
sellers personally and do it that way too. But again, that requires you to know your numbers in order to do that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Buyer's agent's just a great use of leveraging your time
Yeah.
if you're getting somebody that's feeding you deals. But again, you got to do the numbers on the deals. So I use buyer's agents as well. But again, I'm the one doing the deal. I'm paying the cash, so I want to know it's a good deal, and I can't afford to get a bad deal.
Absolutely.
All right, just to finally wrap up, I'll hand it over to you. So you're always still looking for another deal. So if anyone's got a deal around Lake Macquarie area, Newcastle area,
Yeah.
hit up James.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm always looking Central Coast, Port Stephens. Yeah, I'm always looking for deals. I like networking with people as well, speaking with like-minded developers and flippers, and Yeah, I just like talking about it all the time. So happy to meet up for a beer and talk about it.
Chat property.
That's it, 100%.
Yeah, awesome. All right, thanks so much for sharing your awesome deal with us, James. Really appreciate it. And if anyone's got any questions, want to reach out to James, feel free. There's his email. Otherwise, drop some comments in the video if there's a comment section. But thanks so much again, and look forward to seeing the next one.
No worries. Thanks, Adam. Cheers.
Cheers.